Good afternoon. Welcome to this episode of Lending Near. Today we have someone really special, Wendell Philp with the credit team.
Good afternoon, Louis. And good afternoon, Aracelis. How are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you,
I'm
Wendell?
doing
I'm
great.
so psyched to have you here.
Thank you.
We've actually been trying to get Wendell to sit down with us for quite a bit. He's a busy, busy man, but I am completely honored. We are honored to have you here. And I can't wait to hear all about the valuable knowledge that you're going to share with us today.
Sure. It's a pleasure to be here, and I appreciate you guys having me be a part of what you do and sharing great information and resources to our community at large.
Yeah. So one of the main things is the main reason why we wanted to talk to you is because in our business, credit is very important. It can cause a lot of different issues throughout the process of buying a home. So we want people to understand what you do, why you do it, how you do it, and how to get started.
Absolutely. So the biggest thing with credit is understanding like what makes up your score, right? And how to be responsible with it. How can I maintain good credit, or how can I have access to getting started on having credit, right? So if you're young, chances are you probably don't have a lot of credit.
Right.
But if you're a little older, like I am, not necessarily you guys, right?
I'm old.
Then we hope that we've had some established credit and an established foundation. So our goal is to help folks with financial literacy, and so they understand that and the power of credit, because credit alone by itself is one thing, but understanding how you achieve that is another. And so we focus on 5 areas as it relates to the credit piece, right? What makes up the score, how to get credit, how to maintain credit, and then at the same time, how to help others around you. If you've got kids or your family, how to help them get to having better credit.
Absolutely. First and foremost, I want to make note of the company's name that we didn't mention. Everyone, I know a lot of our viewers know who Wendell is, besides being this really cool, amazing person. But I also wanted to state the company that you work with.
Yeah, we are the credit team.
Credit team.
We've partnered up with another agency to help our clients get access to not only cleaning up their credit through the Fair Credit Reporting Act, but also building credit through some of our other resources, which I'm sure we'll get into in a little bit as well.
Right.
As well.
So tell us who Wendell is. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So, I came to this country in 1983 from Jamaica.
Okay.
Mom did an amazing thing. I always think that when you can bring up 5 kids from an island at one time, that's just a thing that it's so hard to do. And especially now with the laws and immigration and things that we see on the news, like how does a woman do that? And so came here in 83 from Jamaica, moved to Tennessee, and struggled. We all think that when you come from the islands, you're coming to the land of milk and honey. That's how we looked at America, is the place where we're going to come in and make money, flourish, have your dreams come true.
The grass is green on this side.
And it can be. But when you get here, you realize you got to have your lawnmower, you got to have your trimmer, you got to have some tools in your toolkit.
That's right.
That's right.
And so my mom, being a single mom, taught us a lot of great things, right? She focused on raising her 5 children. And at one point, there were 13 of us in a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom duplex in Tennessee. So we struggled. But we always say pain is temporary, right? Poverty is temporary. It's your mindset. And so having access to people that would mentor, having access to opportunities and saying yes to opportunities is what kind of got me to where I am. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit because my story is pretty lengthy, but let's just break it down. I started working for a phenomenal company in 95, and that's Walt Disney World. And when I got there, I was a food and beverage cast member, just a quick service guy taking out trash, bussing tables. And I worked my way all the way up to becoming an official spokesperson for the company, a Walt Disney World ambassador in 2003.
That's awesome. I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that either, Wendell.
So it's part of my fabric, but doing that 16-year journey with Disney, it taught me so much. It taught me about leadership, taught me about how to, speak in public, because as an ambassador, you had to do radio interviews, you did print interviews, you traveled. But even beyond that, I would entrench myself in things that would teach me more, like books. I would watch this guy at one point at nighttime. He talked about the OPM process, other people's money, right? And that's Carlton Sheets. To me, he's like the first guru that talked about how to flip property. So I used this process to, at one point, own 25 properties. So part of that background that I'm sharing with you is, hey, the dream can be a reality in this country if you put your mind to it, if you say yes to some opportunities, and you equip yourself with resources, surround yourself with successful people like you and Lewis, right? And people that can mentor you and teach you things that you don't know. So that's a little of my background.
That's an amazing
it's pretty
story.
awesome. I just learned some new things. I mean, I knew some of it, and I know that you are a very entertaining human being, very colorful with just the way your view in life. And I always get a kick talking to you. But I just learned just a tad new stuff about Wendell.
Yeah, it's awesome.
What I did, I wanted to say something earlier when we started. We kind of jumped off talking about credit. And everyone knows what Louis and I do. We are loan originators. We help people achieve the goal of owning their own homes. And yes, we do come across a lot of clients that come to us wanting this dream, to achieve that dream, and come at a halt because of credit issues. It's probably the number one issue that people run into. Nonetheless, I want to say something, because everything that we're going to hear Wendell say today about credit, it relates to this, and it's that credit is probably the least thing that anyone should use to stop themselves from reaching that goal, because it's the one thing that we can change. It's the one thing we can work on. So maybe you cannot buy today or next week, but if credit issue is your problem, and I'm saying this to all our viewers, you need to find someone that can give you the information and the resources to get that resolved, because that's the one thing. We cannot change the fact that you haven't been working for 2 years or certain other compensating factors in the process, but credit is one of those that we can fix.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Just like his shirt says, I fix credit. And that's one of the
Can
things that
everybody
is
see
probably I'm not going to say that it's the easiest thing to fix, but it's something that we can work with. You guys can work with. And, a lot of people do use that as an excuse. Oh, my credit is bad. My credit is bad. And, we tell them that's the least of your worries, right?
It really is. I mean, you think about how simple it is. You think about the fact that Congress passed a law called the Fair Credit Reporting Act that gives all American consumers the right to challenge and investigate and dispute anything, and I mean anything and everything, that negatively affects their credit score. So that law is on your side. And so it's up to us as consumers to do one or two things. Either A, partner with someone that can help you with that, or B, take advantage of the law. You go out and do the dispute yourself, and then wait for the results to come back within 30 to 45 days. But we take it a step further. See, while they're doing that, and I know we're jumping around a little bit, so while they're doing that, we also help them understand how to establish and build trade lines.
That's right.
See, it's one thing to clean it up, but while you're cleaning up, let's build it up.
That's
right?
That's right.
So as we wait for the results to come back, let's talk about trade lines. Do you have any credit cards? A lot of folks are afraid of that, A lot of folks are given misinformation about the power of credit cards. I have 10. And the key to that is the utilization rate.
That's right.
How you use it.
How you use it.
Responsible? Yeah. Do you max it out?
How you pay for it.
Absolutely.
People think that I can have a credit card and just shop up the wazoo, and I only have to pay the minimum every month. So the problem is that all you're doing is paying the interest. So now what you paid for $100, if you not paying any principal, that $100 you pay for that item can easily turn to $500.
Absolutely.
Because you're only paying interest.
That's
So
right. So the good thing about the credit team is that not only do they fix your credit, they educate and continue continuously educate you on how to maintain great
and how
credit.
to build, which is
Absolutely.
important because we have people that have the required credit score where they can continue the process of purchasing a home. But what they don't realize that the credit score does play a big part of it, because the better credit score you have, the better options you have with lenders.
That's right.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, I understand that 740 and above is the optimum score towards accessing better interest rates.
That's
right.
right.
And so, to your point, in terms of maintaining that credit, and our goal is to empower consumers. See, when you're empowered based on knowledge, then the sky is the limit. So,
right.
we don't keep people on monthly installment payments because we want to keep them on there. When the client becomes a customer, they're empowered. They get a dashboard. They're reinforced with education. They know the 5 factors which we can go into of what makes up their credit score. And that's a big thing. But going back to even building more trade lines, like we can help a client get access to turning their rental history into a positive trade line.
Wow.
So that's another way to build credit.
That's right.
Imagine you ever walk by or driven by and seen somebody's belongings all over the sidewalk. You ever seen that?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
sad.
Unfortunately.
Yeah,
It's
when
sad.
I tell people that's an eviction. And I said, it's very sad. You're right. So 2 things are happening there. Number one, they're losing all of their personal belongings. They don't come in and nicely move stuff around. Oh, let's just take the TV off the wall and let's move the sofa out. No. An eviction, because you haven't paid your rent on time, means we're throwing you out.
Fine.
And we're putting that on your credit report. So now you got 2 negative things. You lost your stuff and your credit is bad. And nobody wants to take a risk at that point. So we, in turn, do the opposite. We do 2 things. We turn your rental history into a positive trade line. And now what that does is the second thing, it now fosters good behavior. See, if somebody told me back in the day, hey, Wendell, we will turn your on-time rental payments up to 24 months into a positive trade line. And they said, would that be a benefit to you? Don't you think I'd be paying my rent on time if I was someone that had bad credit?
Of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because
Absolutely.
you're rewarding me for good behavior. So it's twofold.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's really interesting.
I didn't
mean,
even think of
yeah.
that. You never see it on the credit, but I'm sure that there's some kind of way that the bureaus are calculating it into the scores. No.
It is, yeah. We once they enroll in our services, which we can dive into a little bit, we do a complete analysis of A, the negative history, and B, do they have enough trade lines? So really we become a master asker. We're like a doctor. You're at the doctor's office and you tell the doctor, hey, this hurts, and he's like, well, how does it hurt? When does it hurt? Where does it hurt?
What's the from 1 to 10?
Well, 1 to 10, right? So same thing. What's your credit score? What do you have on there? Do you have any collections? Do you have any charge-offs? Do you have any medical bills? How long has it been on there? That we ask those questions. Do you have any credit cards? Are you renting somewhere? How long have you been there? And so by asking a lot of questions, now we're able to address and provide solutions to those challenges, thereby giving them a full game plan towards moving towards better credit.
That's amazing. I mean, that's the whole point of, talking to a professional like yourself, because there's so much about credit that we as just normal Americans don't really realize. But I mean, just sitting here for, 10 minutes with you, you open my eyes and my thoughts to different ways that we can, help consumer. We can say, listen, this can work. Go talk to, Wendell and the credit team, because this is working. This is what's happening. If you can get this on your credit, it's amazing. We can do amazing things with you. That house that you want that's around the corner, it's going to be yours. Just, follow our path. So, I mean, it's a lot of information out there. I think, most people just are afraid to get it or don't understand it. But people like, the credit team, the sky's the limit. It's just the desire to want to change.
But you said something powerful too, though. You said follow the plan. So that's the key. Is we're going to make suggestions to the client based on what we're seeing, and so their role in that, just like lenders, just like realtors, is to
I know it well.
follow the plan.
But
when you deviate from the plan, you don't follow the plan, then you don't necessarily get the results you're looking for.
That's
so.
right.
Like you said, we have tons of testimonials. We've put in a lot of families and homes in the past 3 years that I've been involved in this piece. And if you go on my Instagram page, which is Wendell Philp, you will see I'm in my shirt because I want people to see just how we're giving families hope. I'm taking them from A to Z in the process, from renting a home or being in a hotel room in some cases, right, which is very common now throughout the United States because credit is linked to poverty to an extent. Bad credit means you don't have access to anything.
Anything.
right.
And it's so powerful. And if we realize how powerful it is, you'll understand why I'm so passionate about what I do and why I do this particular piece as trying to serve others so they are empowered with knowledge and they can come out of poverty and have access to things that they otherwise couldn't because of their less than perfect credit score.
That's right.
That's right.
I mean, it does affect the interest rates on everything. So higher interest rates mean for the same amount, you're paying more. So imagine if you can have a lower interest rate now on everything, that can put an extra, $100, $200, $300 in your pocket extra that you can do
Absolutely.
more with it. And that's people don't understand that. And that's the one thing that they have to focus on. It's like, this is going to make your life better. It's not going to make you rich, but it will make your life a little bit better. And once life is better, you feel better about yourself. And then right there, that's exponential growth that can happen.
Totally agree. I'm sorry.
No, please don't. No need for apology. I actually just wanted to, because I know our time is somewhat, I know you're busy and I just don't want our viewers to miss anything of what you have to offer. And one of the things that overwhelms me with a sense of pride and joy and just knowing you is your work with Housing for All. And I wanted to touch that because I find that is probably one of the things that I look at you and say, with all these hats he wears and he still finds time for this. And it's so important and people don't really give it the value as a whole in our community. People don't realize how this touches us all, even the ones that are blindside to it. And I wanted you to share a little bit of what that is and what you do.
Sure. So Housing for All, you're addressing our 501c3 nonprofit whose mission and vision is to help the homeless, right? So our goal is to bridge the gap to affordable housing with an emphasis on home ownership. So we're not your traditional nonprofit to where we're waiting for a handout or we're entitled to government funds. Though it's great when you can get government funds, right?
Absolutely.
But our goal aligns itself with our message. It's a handout, not a handout. And so we want to help those.
Say that again.
It's a handout, not a
Hand
handout.
up, not a handout. Like
So,
that.
yeah, it's not an entitlement thing. So our goal is truly to help folks. And so that's why all the things that we do and that I do has some synergy. Like, for example, credit links to poverty to an extent.
That's right.
So
right.
if you're homeless, could be because you have an eviction or two, could be because no one wants to take a chance on you. So when I came to this country, we were blessed to have a lot of folks poured into us, from the church to my teachers to just leaders around that saw something in me that said, hey, you can be somebody. And I believed it in my mind. And so as I'm a older or a more mature adult, I feel it's compelling that we do the same. We pay it forward.
That's right.
And so there are too many people that don't have these opportunities that they can if we're willing to make that move. And so we formed this in 2012 with the idea of truly serving this population. And so, as a matter of fact, before I came here, I just came out of an hour-long meeting with our Affordable Housing Committee here in Osceola County, where we were talking about, we had 3 developers that came in and presented to us actually 3 concepts. So the one was senior living, affordable housing, 55 and older. They're going through the process of getting their funding from Florida Housing Coalition in Tallahassee. And the other 2 was affordable housing for families. And so we get a chance to hear their presentation and kind of vote on some of the funds that are slated to them to receive in it to help with maybe impact fees or things to keep the affordability. See, that's the stuff that really drives me. And so to your point, I do take the time because we want to serve as many as we can that want to help. And so, for example, Osceola School Board has partnered up with us and given us access to $31,000 to help with first rent and deposit for families that are homeless or in need of housing, families that are in the hotels. But what you find in most cases is that most of these families have a credit issue.
Yeah.
That's why they are where they are. And so this is all hand in hand.
Credit is power.
Credit is power.
And I think nowadays, especially in this era, is practically like cash. You have no credit, you have no cash. There's no cash flow. There's no access to it. And people need to start realizing that it is very, very important. I don't think back in the days there was such an emphasis on credit as it is today. But it's like everything. We have to adjust and we have to be aware of the times.
You know, you hear this saying that cash is king, but I've actually extended that phrase, right? Cash is king, but credit is everything.
Credit is everything.
This country, this United States of America, the great United States of America, is built on credit.
Yeah,
That's right.
absolutely.
So if we understand that, we know just how powerful credit is, right? And so that ties back. In fact, when you look at the four quadrants within our nonprofit, it talks about credit. Even before I got introduced to this business, it talks about safety because these families need to feel safe.
That's right.
And it talks about stability and case management. So we try to provide all of these components within the organization because at the end of the day, you want to help people learn some skills. Teach a man to fish, right?
That's
and
right.
he'll eat. But give him a fish and then he'll starve, right?
That's right.
So we want to teach folks good things, good habits, and help them along the way.
Yeah, you give them the fish, he might eat that meal,
That's
but
it.
what's going to happen tomorrow or the next day? So just to sort of give people an idea, and I might be putting you on the spot, do you have a roundabout number of the families that you have helped achieve this, goal or dream, or just, people that are now not homeless or not in need?
Absolutely. And so in the years that we've been involved in Housing for All, we've actually assisted over 300 families.
Wow.
Right? And part of that assistance is to partner with other nonprofit organizations and also the for-profit sector, because it takes a village. It takes a village to address this issue. See, no one person or no one organization has the solution. We all have a solution, and we all play a role in that solution.
That's right.
Whether it be a church, whether it be a community center, whether it be a commissioner who votes in something that we need. For example, we were able to increase the down payment assistance dollars for Osceola County residents that are in low income, very low income, or moderate income category from $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 to $20,000, $40,000, $60,000. And that all came through us bringing it up at the board meeting and voting on it. We also increased the price from $200,000 to $225,000 in terms of purchase price. So that wasn't just one person's idea, it was a team. And so to address this issue, to serve the over 300 families that we've served, it was a collaborative effort within the community.
You need a village.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is true, because we actually felt the difference in the numbers because all that relates to what we do as well. So, Osceola actually is one of the counties that we were able to assist more with when it came to down payment assistance.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, Wendell, now that we heard a little bit about Housing for All, and I mean, it's astonishing the fact that in such a short period of time, you've helped over 300 families. That's
about 100 families a year. That number is
Yeah.
mind blowing.
It's
100
pretty.
families. Think about that. 100
Well,
families.
2012, I think.
2012, yeah.
Oh,
so
I
2012,
thought you said
so-
3 years.
No,
Right.
no,
Okay,
2012.
okay.
So, but still, I mean, 300 families. When you think about what that has to take, and it's like he said, it's not just finding a home for them; is getting them in that right path. Is teaching them and how to fish, where they can now go on their own and continue that path of progress. That's pretty amazing. So my next question to you is, because we're talking about this, how do you have access to that type of inventory?
Great question. So, one of the neat things in my position is I'm a licensed realtor. And so I've been in the business since
I
99.
forgot about that.
Yeah,
Man of many hats, I'm telling you.
Well, you're segueing to something else which I think people should understand and really appreciate. And Berkshire Hathaway is one of the ones that says it best. You need to have multiple streams of income. Although the nonprofit doesn't pay me per se, but it does, because it gives me great joy and great peace to know that I'm doing a greater purpose in serving others. So
That's priceless.
it really is.
Priceless.
So I'm able to use my license to now leverage and advocate on behalf of these families with other business professionals. See, 9 times out of 10, when a family has negative issues, evictions, bad credit, trying to get access to inventory, and they apply for what they think they're going to be able to rent, chances are they get turned down, and they've just spent $60, $100 in application fees, and they do this over and over and over with no positive outcome. So a certain young man took me out one time, and he was introducing me to this company, and he was telling me how this company is great. I should join the company, and I'm like, okay, tell me more. So we went to, I think it was Panera Bread. And as we're sitting there, he says, yeah, La Rosa Realty is doing some neat things. I was like, oh, La Rosa Realty, wow, that's a big company. He told me how many agents they had. And the first thing that came to my mind was, I need access to inventory. So he set up a meeting with Joe and Dina. Sat down with Joe, and I told Joe what my vision was for the nonprofit. At that point, that's all I was focused on, was truly helping these families and having access, because La Rosa Realty had all these properties on the market, both for sale and for rent. Well, I needed access to the rental properties. And I said, Joe, listen, I have this nonprofit, and I'm really trying to help these families get into stable housing with some subsidy and case management. How can I get access to your inventory? He says, Wendell, that's easy. Join La Rosa Realty. I mean,
Smart.
he didn't even think about, like, well, we can't do that, or I don't know. He just says, join La Rosa Realty. Not only did they help me get access to their inventory, him and his wife are part of our board. We've got some, because of their relationship, some board members now from the Osceola School Board as well that's on our committee. So, when you think about business owners, and I said earlier, it takes a village. So that was a for-profit sector. La Rosa Realty is a for-profit sector. They're not a nonprofit, but we were able to partner up with them and now have access to inventory and serving more families. So very thankful for that relationship, and I just want to give them a shout out.
Oh,
Oh,
shout
that's
out to
great.
Joe La Rosa and La Rosa Realty.
Yeah. I mean, that doesn't surprise me that you said that, because, we've known Joe for many years, and we know that they have a really good heart. And it was
They give a
meant,
lot to the community.
yeah, it was meant to be that glue came from it was a perfect fit for both of you guys. And that's amazing that story. I didn't know that story. That's how you guys met, but it's amazing
That's
that
how
it
it
worked
Smart.
out that way.
Yeah.
It was very, very smart. Yeah. And I mean, they do so many things. It's
They
like
do.
Louis says, it doesn't surprise me that he would have made it that easy for you. I mean, now for Thanksgiving, I mean, every year we are involved in this basket brigade, thanks to
Absolutely.
Joe and Dina La Rosa.
Yes.
And that's incredible where
It
they
is.
started and where they've gotten to. Like last year, we were honored or very grateful that we were able to participate. And it's a priceless feeling. It doesn't give you income because it is nonprofit, but it does fulfill that.
does.
It does give you
It satisfies the
a
outcome.
satisfaction. Yeah.
Absolutely. And in many cases, if you're truly positive and you dig a little deeper, and I don't know what people believe in, but I believe in the higher power, and I believe that, if you give, the Bible says, give and you shall receive. And so I don't do it necessarily for that, but I do know that I have no need. I have no want. My finances are taken care of because my heart is open to serve. And so, as I've given is the secret to living, and Dina
wanna
says it a
hug
lot.
him.
I mean, but that's what, if we adopt those principles, the Bible says you can't outgive God. And so I'm not trying to preach. I'm just saying, because I've received so much blessings in my life, I don't see any reason to hold on to
Listen,
it. You can't
don't
take it
hold
with
back.
you.
You preach.
That's
You
right.
preach.
That's
Okay, I'm
That's
listening. You preach. But yeah, we understand it.
So is this you're requesting to be nominated for president? Is that what you're doing?
That's an arduous task. I don't
I'll
wish
vote.
that on anybody.
I mean, you're great. You won't have gray hair, so you're fine. Because that happens
Absolutely
when
not.
you become president and you have everyone
Yes.
just gray hair after that.
That's
So
true.
You're fine.
Well,
You're
listen,
good to
that
go.
way.
They got to learn how to become friends with the razor.
Ah,
I'm best friends with the razor.
that's the smart way to go about it. Because I don't know if I can go that route, but so I'm stuck with these grays. Damn it.
You-
So let's moving on, and I mean, like I said before, you don't stop amazing me, Wendell, with everything that you do. You're really an amazing person, and we
A very
appreciate you.
well-rounded person. I mean,
Thank
you
you.
have. It seems like you have every aspect of someone. I put myself in someone's shoes that needs that type of help, right? And you cover pretty much every aspect of bringing someone that's struggling to the point that they won't have to really struggle anymore because you educate them in all aspects
Area.
of that. I mean, it's amazing. Like
To
I'm
be honest
getting
with-
goosebumps just thinking about it.
And this is gonna sound really corny. I know it's gonna sound corny, but I just being in your presence, Wendell, you have this aura about you. It's a good feeling aura, and that's not something that you can invent or learn. So I truly believe that you were born to do what you do. You're good at it. You make people feel good, and that's not something that everyone can do. So again, I'm a fan.
Yeah,
You know
and
that.
it seems
I've
like
been
it-
a fan for a long time. Wendell knows that.
and it seems like it just
I'm
comes
honored.
natural. It just comes natural with you.
now he's gonna
You
walk
make
around.
me turn red. I'm truly honored, and I don't take any of that credit. I give my Heavenly Father the glory, honestly, because, my mom always said this to me. She says, God sees your heart, right? We're going to make
That's true.
mistakes and we're going to do things that we probably regret. But at the end of the day, if your heart is right, then God sees it. And essentially, if he sees it, then the world will see it. And so,
That's right.
I don't know how I got this heart to serve, but all I want to do is serve, because I think if you have the heart to serve, then everything else will fall into place. And in fact, as I was driving here, I'm thinking to myself, like, sometimes, and this is, I think, we've got to stay hungry, right?
Mm-hmm.
We got to stay hungry in life, because we can become complacent. And when that happens, then you're no longer growing. You're no longer hungry. And today I was listening to a podcast from a leader in our organization, and it really moved me, because you might think, oh, I'm doing enough. No, we're never doing enough.
That's
Never
right.
We're
enough.
never doing enough. When you think about what we can do, then I feel like I'm an underachiever. I do.
Yeah,
And
you
so
would say that.
I know. And so now I'm saying to myself, I need to go back and reassess what I'm doing, because I need to get better. And that's my mentality.
Yeah, I think we all have these two qualities in our personality. We have the superhero self, and then the lesser self of that, right? So let me explain. The superhero self is, when we doing great things and everything is great. The lesser self is the one that makes the excuses. Oh, I can't go to that. I can't do this, or I can't do that, right? And harnessing the superhero self in us that allows us to do giving things, to say, you know what, no excuse. If I have to get up at 4:00 in the morning, I'm not going to say, well, I only, slept 3 hours. You just get up and you do it. And harnessing that portion of our personality is what allows some people to really do things like what you do.
Do great
Is
things.
it's not about the lesser self of ourselves that just make every excuse. Oh, I'm not going to go to that meeting because it's not going to get anything out of it. You just push forward, you do what you got to do, and you give it up to, in your case, God, and you say, look, I'm doing what I'm doing. See my heart, and everything kind of comes into
Falls
play.
into play, yeah.
And that's an amazing. A lot of people don't really harness that portion of their personality, and it seems like you understand that, and you really harness that part of it.
Trying every day.
Yeah.
So Wendell, I'm just gonna read right from one of our little notes here. I know that we're kind of running towards the end here, and I wanted to give you the opportunity to give our viewers 3 tips, and tips that have worked for you in your professional life. What is one good industry related book that you might want to share that you think would be a good read, or a publication, anything that you want to recommend to our audience?
Sure. So let's talk about the 3 tips. And again, so I'm going to give 6. I'm going to do 3 in terms of the credit piece, and then 3 in professional piece, and then and my tip on the book. So as far as credit is concerned, 3 things that I'd recommend is pay your bills on time. That's the largest calculation of your credit score. That's 35% of your credit score.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Paying your bills on time. It's payment history, right? So when we think, oh, I'm going to get to that, or I'll pay that when I get the money, do everything you can to pay your bills on time, right? Second tip, as far as credit is concerned, is you need to have trade lines. Trade lines are important. You can't go around and think that you can pay everything in cash. I mean, cash is cool if you have it, but majority of people don't have that kind of resource to keep paying cash for everything. And today, like, all of my credit cards in my pocket pays me to carry them. So I'm getting free money all day long. When I use my MasterCard from Sam's Club, I get 5% on gas, right? That's up to $6,000 in a year. When I use my American Express, I get points. When I use so any card that I have in my wallet gives me money. And if I'm a student of the game like I am, I can either pay it down to 30%. Tip number 3, pay your cards down to 30% of the limit. Don't max it out and then wait till the credit card closing statement, then say I paid it. And then call your lender and say, hey, I paid that thing down. When did you pay it? Yesterday. Well, that's not going to work. So keep that balance at 30% or below. So I'm not saying that you have to pay it off, because sometimes you may not have the money to pay it off, but pay it down to 30% of the limit. So the 3 tips: pay your bills on time, have trade lines, so get some credit cards, be responsible. If you're not sure how to do that, you can contact me through our host today.
Be an adult.
Be an adult, yeah. And pay down that credit card to 30% of the limit. Don't carry a high balance over. And to your point, you said it earlier. If you're just paying the minimum, you're doing 2 things. A, you're racking up more debt because you're only paying the interest. And B, you're killing your credit score significantly, because that is the second largest factor of the 5 factors that makes up your credit score. That's 30%. So that's the 3 tips as far as credit. Business and career, be committed, right? Be committed and have a game plan. What does that mean? If you're going to do something, do it. And then put a plan of action in place. Don't make excuses like you just said earlier, Lewis. Don't say, oh, I can't do this, or it's not going to pay me anything. No, the nonprofit is a commitment to me.
That's right.
And I had a friend say to me at one time, I would rather do nothing than something for nothing. Think about that. That's powerful.
I like that.
I'd rather do nothing than something for nothing. But in the case of the nonprofit, we're doing a lot of things, and none of my board members are paid. We do a lot without having the monetary income. We just do it because it's the right thing to do, right? So be committed. Number 2 is you got to get trained. You got to get trained. People get into a business or they get into something and they don't want to get trained. They don't go to training. Like,
they don't want to get coached.
They don't want to get coached, right? And the best athletes, the wealthiest people, what are they? Well trained, well coached. Millionaires have coaches. So, and they're being trained. So if you're not willing to get trained, I mean, we're willing to do that for someone else. We're willing to go 9 to 5, and when they tell you to show up, you show up, and you do what they tell you to do, right? And there's a cap on your income. But you have the ability in your career to go beyond that cap by being trained. By being trained.
That's right.
And my tip number 3.
Educate yourself, right?
Absolutely. Tip number 3 is take the time out to be informed. No, you need to be aware of things. People walk around today at times and they don't know anything. Like when I auditioned to become a Disney ambassador, I had to learn everything I could about Walt Disney World, about the Walt Disney Company, about Walt's vision and mission, his partner, his brother Roy. And so all I'm saying is, if you're going to get into anything, learn that business. Be a student of the game. Be a product of the product. Don't get in there and do absolutely nothing and then expect results. That's not going to work. Yeah. You have to put the time in. So be committed to learning that craft and be the best that you can be at it.
Yeah.
So a book that I'd recommend is Think and Grow Rich.
Think and Grow
Rich. Napoleon Hill. That's a beautiful book. Written many years ago. They've got different versions of that book. I've read that book a couple times now, and there's so many anecdotes in there, so many great passages in there. But there's one section that talks about the 55 alibis, meaning 55 excuses that we use as individuals as to why we are not
There's only 55?
Well, that's what,
alibis.
that's what they put in there. Like, if only I was younger, or if only I could talk like you, or
I had the time.
If I had the time, right?
Or if I had the money.
If I had the money. Those are all excuses. Everyone should grab that book and read it. It will help you hone in on the skills that you need. It will show you how to move beyond that glass ceiling. And the key to these books is it's self-enriching, it's motivating, and now you're doing what? You're loving on yourself. You're pouring back into yourself. You can't just graduate from school or college and then stop there. You have to continue to grow mentally. physically and emotionally in order to achieve the things that you want to achieve in life.
That's right. So true.
So, I guess to end, probably one of my favorite podcasts that we've
definitely.
done. I mean, we've had great ones, but I like I said, I've been such a fan of Wendell. You inspire me. You inspire me a lot, and I know you and I have had just like face to face little chit chats around the way, kind of. But you always seem to keep bringing more, which
You
is
always have a smile on your face.
yeah, and which is a challenge.
Do you ever get angry?
I've never ever seen
try not to.
Wendell. Honestly, I've never ever seen you, and we've been in some little rough situations with whether it's in a meeting or something where things weren't going our way, and you've joined us, but I don't think I've ever seen you without a smile on your face. I can honestly say that.
It's contagious, and
is. Very
it's one
contagious.
of those things that doesn't cost anything. And sometimes we have to remind ourselves that we have so much to be grateful for. And when you think about what we have to be grateful for, listen, the fact that we have cold water, hot water.
I mean, all the time.
Look, I in Jamaica, we used outhouse toilets. People are like, what is that? That's where you went outside
Oh, I know what they're. Well,
and
I'm
you
from
sat
Dominican
in a
Republic,
hole
so-
in the wall and you did your thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you had to take a shower, the water was cold. There's no warm water. I'm in this great country, and yes, sometimes as I was growing up, things were tough, but they weren't as tough as they were in the islands.
That's
And
right.
so if you can think those thoughts daily and say, God, I'm so thankful for this, this, and this, like where would I be? Where I said this to a pastor friend of mine that came 2 weeks ago. I said, I look at some of these folks that are unfortunately homeless. And I said, had it not been for grace, that could have been me, because we were 13 people in a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom duplex. I said, that could be me. That could be my brother, my sister. But it's not us. And I thank God. And so that makes me smile.
Yeah.
That makes me smile.
And you make other people smile, because people don't realize that, you can come across someone that's, in some type of conflict, and you can either take that on or change it around. And I think that no matter how, I mean, at least for me, I can speak for myself. I don't care what kind of a funk I might wake up in the morning. When I come across someone who is smiling, it automatically makes me smile. So it is contagious.
It is.
Very much so. And it goes a long way.
And if I could give maybe one last tip, and then you can
course.
continue your segment, just always say hello to people. We're so
Oh my God,
caught
I
up.
have this challenge with my kids. Kids
Yeah.
nowadays, they forget to walk into like when I was growing up, that was unacceptable. You walk into a room, you say hello to every single person there,
Absolutely.
whether you know them or not.
Absolutely.
Nowadays, these kids, and I hate to sound like a mom, but it's a challenge. Like I have to keep reminding my kids, you walk in, you say hello. You
You
walk
do.
in, you that man, you shake his hand. That woman, you let her know that
Yeah.
you're present.
I think a lot of it, and this is one of my biggest struggles. We all grew up, with
With nothing.
Nothing. We all struggled, right? And then
I'm the 11th of 12.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So you thought you had it bad. Same parents,
I had.
same mom and dad, same
Wow.
household.
I was on the what's that thing? I don't remember what it was. That back in the days that they take a picture, they had you on, and you send it, and someone sponsored you. They send you $35. I think it was I forget the
know
name
what
of it.
you're
What it
talking
was.
about.
Wow.
And my mom used to make me go, and I used to go, and I used to take a picture, and then someone will send us $35, and I would have to write a letter. Thank you so much. I mean, that's how we that's
Do
how
you
we
ever-
struggled.
I know in Brooklyn.
I forget what it was called.
I'm
It was
from
a while.
Brooklyn, who can't tell by my accent, right? But do you remember the summer vacation, the
cheese line?
free cheese
Oh,
line?
yeah.
Yes.
They send
Yes.
you your parents like made
grilled
you.
cheese. Best grilled cheese, I gotta say.
Best cheese, period.
It wasn't
Yeah,
it? Why
yeah.
was that cheese? So
It's government cheese. I don't know why. Maybe it's because it was free and we needed it. We're hungry.
Yeah.
That cheese is so damn
but
good.
yeah, but my point is this: is that the youth today, and it I get
They're
so-
spoiled.
yeah, I get it just I
But
don't
you
even
know
want-
what?
when I hear them say this, oh my God, I wish I was like that rich and sitting on the yacht, because right now everything is, every
Instant
channel,
gratification.
everything is there. They're on big houses and money and driving these cars. And why can't we be like this? And I sit there and I say, you have this. You would not survive if you lived in my shoes.
But then again, and this is true.
We didn't have selfies. I had to take a picture to get $35.
I know.
That was my selfie.
Wow.
With my
But,
butterfly collar down here.
Oh my
and,
God.
and I know that now I'm playing devil's advocate, and I'm kind of, just going to look at it on the other side of the coin, because it is though all relevant. We say that, and now that we are older and we have our own families and whatnot, and we understand things that think about it. Just stop for a second and listen to what we're saying. All what we're saying, we probably heard our parents say it.
That's true.
So it's all relevant. It's like it's just that we're moving forward, and what we thought was not a big deal then to us is a big deal now. And it's just like our kids. Our kids didn't experience that, so they can only go by their own personal experiences in the time that they're living. We see it because we did experience that. So we are seeing cell phones and social media and all these, things that have excel us to another level. But when you think about when you were our kids' age now, our parents were saying the same thing. They were like, you got it good, Wow. You have a road you can park your car, and we had dirt roads, or my father. I'm one of the youngest I've been very, very blessed in the family I was born in, and we did suffer poverty, and we didn't have a lot. We never lacked anything though, because you just understood that this is the way we were, and we were grateful for the little we did have. Nonetheless, I have to admit that being one of the youngest in my huge family, my father only went to third grade and managed to be a very successful businessman. So he used to tell me, you got cars now. I used to, have to cross the river with
I tell you this,
little stick behind my back,
Wow.
I tell you this, if my grandkids ever say, oh my goodness, my parents they serve me steak and, what the heck, what, I'm going to slap them.
Wow.
I'm just saying.
Okay, so let's finish up, because we can stay here all day talking to
I
them.
appreciate you all sharing that, because again, your audience get a chance to not only see the success that you are today, but get a chance to digress a little bit and see, oh wow, they were in my shoes.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, I thought it was just me. Oh, because people don't realize that you didn't just get to here today. You didn't just wake up and all of a sudden, boom, you're successful. You had a journey.
That's right.
And you kind of shared a little of that journey, which I appreciate. So thank you for that.
I have some colorful things I can share. So just to finish off, Wendell, tell us, I want you to end it with, what motivates you to keep going, and what's your next step in your career, where we're going next?
When I think about those two questions, it's so easy for me. Like, what motivates me? Man, like going back to the Bible, Moses leading the God's people out of Egypt. I always, and I don't want to come across the wrong way, but I look at myself and my family as me being a Moses to an extent, right? Because we struggled for so many years. Single mom, having nothing, and government cheese, the milk, the buffalo ground beef in the can and the little potatoes and stuff like that, to here I am at one point having 25 properties, having 4 different businesses, and being successful. Because I say this, failure is not an option.
Nope.
That's right.
Failure is not in my vocabulary.
It's a choice.
It's a choice.
It's a choice.
So failure for me is not about me. Failure for me means my mom, my sisters, my niece, my nephew. So when you have more to live for than yourself, then you don't think about failing. You think about how I can succeed because other people are relying on me to succeed.
Depending on you.
So I can't fail. So that gets me up every single day to do what I have to do, regardless of how I feel. I remember when I used to work at Disney, and I would do doubles and triples. I'm talking working from early morning all the way to the next morning, nonstop, day after day, making $5.95 an hour. But my drive was my family. I needed to make sure that we can't go back to where we were. We can't go back to being hungry, starving, and not having anything.
That's the superhero self in you.
Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
so that's what keeps me
He
going.
hides the cape under the t-shirt, guys.
What's next for me? I keep my options open, because I think at the end of the day, we talked about some things that I've been able to achieve, but I only achieved those things for two reasons. A, by the grace of God, and B, I said yes to the opportunities. And see, sometimes when an opportunity presents itself, people don't know how to say yes. Somebody's asking for things. Oh, God, bless me with this. Oh, bless me with that. Oh, what I'm going to do. And the answer and the solution is there, but we don't accept it. Oh, that's not for me. Oh, I got to research it. Whatever it is, whatever your excuse is. I said yes to many things. I could have said no to the Disney ambassador piece, because I could have thought, oh, I don't qualify. I have an accent. I'm from
Can't do
Jamaica.
it.
I can't do it. I'm nervous in front of people. Look at me now. I can talk to anybody anywhere, but back then that wasn't me. But you know what I did?
Oh my God.
I said yes. I said yes, and I went out and I did it, and I continue to say yes. So what's next for me? I'm exploring, because at the end of the day, I want to make sure I have multiple streams of income. So my options are open. At this point, all I want to do right now in this current moment is A, serve a lot of homeless families, and B, get some folks into homes by helping them understand the power of credit and financial literacy.
So, first of all, Wendell, thank you so much for spending this time with us. It has been totally enlightening. Just the words that you speak are so powerful, and I hope that our listeners really dive into what you're saying and really apply those things to themselves, or even some family members that may need some assistance in just trying to get on the right track, because I think in our community we need a lot of that help, and people like you we're blessed to have someone like you that it's part of this community,
Serving the community.
and helping so many people.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Thank you so much for everything that you do.
Yeah.
Thank you both for having me, and keep up what you're doing, because at the end of the day, the world still needs Louis and Aracelis and individuals like you who are willing to open your doors and share to a greater audience resources and information that's going to impact their lives for the future.
Yeah, but I'm still going to hold you to coming back and rapping for us. I need a little bit of Wendell rap in my life.
You got it.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Wendell.
Thank you very much.
What's your FICO, mommy?
What's your FICO, Poppy?
What's your FICO, mommy? What's your FICO, baby? What's your FICO?
What's your FICO, Poppy?
What's your FICO, mommy?
What's your FICO, Poppy?
What's your FICO, mommy? What's your FICO, baby? What's your FICO?